Good afternoon. So, here to present Spanking and some of our scalability research. I started masturbating when I was 5 years old. My first experience with porn was when I was 7 years old. A friend of mine came over and loaded up some bestiality onto my dad's computer. My mom found it in the browser history, and they had a huge fight because she didn't believe that it wasn't him. When she confronted me about it directly, I did what any child consumed by guilt and shame would do. I lied. Sorry, Dad. Since then, I've learned not to be ashamed about the things that make me human, and I don't think anybody else should be either. Oh. Yeah. So I'm here to present Spanking and some of our scalability research. This is Joey Kim. She's an adult performer, and she has an adult erotic art site called joeykim.tv. She was using PayPal as a payment processor, and they told her that her website qualified as erotic art. December 28th, she was shocked to find out that they had locked her account. They froze her account with $70,000 still inside. This cut off her main source of income and made it impossible for her to accept new members. They claimed that she violated their terms of service by using PayPal for adult content, even though she had been using PayPal for about 2 years without any incident, and that PayPal actually has an adult digital content section on their registration. Now, despite many attempts to contact customer support, they completely ignored her, and the default policy that they have is to only release funds after 6 months. So she reached out to Spanking for help. So I got the email addresses of PayPal's customer support department heads from a friend of mine at PayPal and sent them a friendly email. Okay, I may have also CC'd our legal counsel and made some implicit threats. Either way, it worked. And within 2 months, she had received her money. And so it's still bullshit that it took that long, but it's better than the alternative. She sent us this nice thank you letter. So why Spanking? Because adult performers can't get access to banking institutions, and because her story is not unique. The discrimination against the adult industry is embedded deep in our financial system. For adult performers and businesses, the killer app is Ethereum itself. They need a secure place to receive and hold their money without fear that someone will shut down their account and seize their funds. However, Ethereum has scalability and usability issues that must be solved in order to reach widespread consumer adoption. And consumer adoption will start with porn, because the people most motivated to switch to a new financial system are the ones ostracized by the existing one. What is Spanking? Spanking provides scalable economic infrastructure to accelerate the migration of the adult industry to Ethereum. Our platform is divided up into 3 layers. At the top, we have applications. In the middle, we have services. And at the bottom, we have the Spanking core. Let's start bottom to top. So the core is a set of smart contracts and open source libraries that anyone can use for free. So these will be things like the Performer Registry, which is an identity system that we'll be building on a smart contract. These are things like our payment channel library, which is a smart contract and associated JavaScript libraries. And things like Vinos, which is our in-browser micropayment wallet, which will also be open source soon. So our partner for building our payment channels and the wallet is Machinimi, a micropayment specialist company in Russia. The middle layer is the Spanking services. So you can think of this sort of like the AWS for porn. It's everything that you would need in order to build an adult campsite or clip site or whatever you might want to make. So this is things like payment channel hubs. so that you can have payment processing easy and be able to accept tokens and ETH as payment. And things like indexing and search, if you want to build a whitelist of our campsite and you want to see which models are active, or you want to search for clips to share. Things like age verification and an ad network or an interface builder, like a what you see is what you get editor for a website. Now, all of these will have fees paid in Booty token. The other interesting thing about this is that all of these will be tightly integrated with our payment channels. So you can imagine that for indexing and search, we'll have an API REST endpoint, and it'll be a pay-per-query model. For an ad network, it'll be a micropayment per impression model, things like that. At the top, we have applications, which is our own and third-party UIs. So we're building a campsite. We'll also be building a content marketplace, and partner sites we hope will build on top of Spankchain. And these will be language specific. These will be interest specific. You know, it might be a gay site or a straight site or a kink site and BDSM and things like that. So one example is that we're building a red light district in partnership with District 0x. And one of the interesting things we're doing with them is that the way District 0x works, you can stake your district network tokens on a specific community marketplace in order to earn voting shares in that. And we've done a sort of token joint venture where either Spank or DNT can be used for voting rights of that content marketplace. And we'll be using both the Spankchain payment infrastructure as well as the District 0x voting infrastructure that they're getting from Aragon. And it works because there's 1 billion of each token, so you can just do it one-to-one. So let's talk about our tokens. We have 2 tokens. We have Spank and we have Booty. And together, they make our ecosystem work. So Spank is a staking token. It's a dynamic platform license. Booty is a stablecoin, and it's pegged to $1. In Booty, we trust. Here's how it works. You stake your Spank on the Spank Bank smart contract, and you mint Booty. Here's in a bit more detail. So I'm going to walk through this. So we've got our performers and platform businesses, as well as our viewers and supporters, who collectively make up the Spankchain community. They take their Spank, and they stake it on the Spank Bank smart contract, which records their deposits. Now, you see in number 2 that new Booty is minted proportionally to all Spank stakers. Now, the arrow there only points to viewers and supporters, but it should also point to performers and platform businesses. Right? So the viewers and supporters of the platform can also tip in Booty to performers. And because Booty is an ERC20 token, it can all be traded on an ERC20 exchange. And finally, the platform performers and platform businesses will pay their fees in Booty, which will all be sent to the Spank Bank so it can keep track of how much was used in fees during a time period. Let's talk about Booty generation for a second. So the way the Booty generation works is it's algorithmically determined by the smart contract, by the Spank Bank. So the target total Booty supply is 20 times the amount of Booty consumed during the previous time period. And let's just assume that's a month for simplicity. We're still working out the details, but walk through how this sort of works. So let's assume that in the first month, the initial Booty supply is 200. And in all of our platform, we collect 10 Booty, $10 in fees, right? This will be coming from fees that we're collecting for our services or our applications, things like that, right? So because our fees are 10 Booty, that means that the new target Booty supply will be 200 Booty. And so we need to generate 10 more in order to get from the 190, which is what you get if you consume 10 from 200, because those 10 are burned, back to 200. Right? And so I walk through the increase in usage and the decrease in usage and then the return to equilibria. So let's say in the second month, usage increases to 20 Booty. Right? Now the target Booty supply will be 400. And the new Booty generated will be 220, because you started with 200, you used 20, so you're at 180. And you need to get to 400, you're going to make 220. And remember, all of this Booty that is generated is distributed proportionally to the Spank stakers. In the third month, the platform sees a slight decline to 15 Booty. So now the target booty supply is going to be 300. And because the amount that will be in existence already is 385, we're above the target, so we don't need to mint any more. So we don't. And then in the last month, or actually in month 4, then we receive a return to the 20 booty. And so then in order to get back to 400, we mint 35. Because we're at 385, we consume 20, that puts us at 365. And so we make 35 more to get to 400. And then the final case is the equilibrium, which is at 400, if we consume 20, then we just continue to generate the 20 that we used. Another way of framing this is that if you use 1% of the Spank chain platform and hold 1% of Spank, you will generate enough booty to cover your fees. And that's why it acts as a dynamic license. Proof of Spank. There is a problem. And the problem is that age-verified performers who've gone through, uploaded their IDs and you've taken the pictures, can actually swap with underage performers on live cam shows. And our solution to this is that we're going to put the Spank stakers to work. So Spank stakers must participate in real-time age verification in order to earn booty. So here's how it works. Every 10 minutes, a live streaming performer is selected at random for verification. We generate 4 random numbers between 1 and 20, and the performer has to recite all 4 numbers, and then they pick a number, and they spank themselves that many number of times. Spank stakers would then participate in a token-weighted vote on whether the performer matches their profile. Right? And this is, a lot of people are like, why would you do this? This is dumb, you don't need this. And it's like, yeah, but well, if it's fun, it'll actually be more effective. So why not make it fun? And spanking is actually, in cams, it's like a thing, everybody does it. You'll figure it out. So if the outcome of the vote is that the performer is an imposter, then we will investigate and possibly close their account. And in order to do this at scale, we will obviously use Plasma. So you can imagine that we will have infinite throughput, hierarchical Plasma chains for proof of Spank. And while this will start out as a manual process, people will be clicking a button and voting. We expect it to evolve into an automated machine vision real-time verification system. And those will be like the ASICs of proof of Spank. We launched our first app about a month ago. It is an educational and onboarding tool. We wanted to test a theory that people are more motivated to learn about crypto once they have some. So this is Crypto Titties. It is a leaderboard ranked by the amount of ETH that has been tipped. There are 71 pairs of tits on Crypto Titties. A total of 34.7 ETH has been tipped, and 100% of the funds have gone straight to performers. In order to do this, we onboarded most of these performers onto Cypher Browser. Cypher Browser is the most sophisticated cryptocurrency wallet on the market today. It's great. It also has an integrated browser. So if you wanted to go on CryptoTitties.com on Cypher Browser, you would be able to tip seamlessly directly from your wallet. We also made a $300,000 open source development grant into Cypher Browser about a month ago. This is what a Cypher Browser onboarding party looks like at AVN. So we, as a team, went to AVN, which is like the Oscars of porn, and then we told our performer friends to tell their performer friends that any girl could come up to our booth and we'd pay them $100 in cash if we could take a picture of their tits. This was pretty interesting, and so we had girls lining up outside of our booth like pretty much the whole time. And we'd bring them in, and we'd tell them what was going to happen. We'd take a picture of their tits, give them $100 cash, and then we'd tell them that if they stuck around and downloaded Cypher Browser, we'd also give them $100 in ETH and $100 in Spank. So they did, and it worked. And we had about 70 girls sign up and gave out about $20,000. They love it. And you can see that the fans love it too. There's a lot of engagement. In about a month, we plan to launch our first main app, which will be our campsite. And it will use our wallet with or in-browser wallet with integrated payment channels. It's going to look something like this. It's got the video, it's got chat, it's got tipping goals and stuff like that. It's everything you'd expect from a campsite. The cool thing is that you can now pay in ETH. And you can pay in ETH in a payment channel. So what you're looking at is a wallet. So this is a wallet just like MetaMask or any other wallet. Holds funds, sends transactions, stuff like that. The kicker is that it actually is tightly integrated with our payment channels. So when you click this, fill up $69 into your Spank card, under the hood, what is actually happening is you're opening up a payment channel with SpankChain with our hub. And that's what it looks like when you're done. And so now you have $69 in a payment channel with SpankChain. And you can pay instantly on our platform. You can deposit into open channels. So as you can see, another $20 has been added to the wallet. And if you click load up $20 into Spank card, it'll get deposited directly onto the Spank card. And so the reason we came up with the Spank card is because we needed a metaphor to explain payment channels to users so that they'd never actually have to learn what payment channels are. And everybody understands how cards work. You deposit into it, you spend the money, and then when you're done, you withdraw. And so we figured this made sense, and I fully expect every other thing that uses payment channels to sort of follow this. So remember where you saw it first. You can see the activity broken down by Camshow. And if you want more granularity, you can click and dive deeper into what specific payments were made, what exact tips you made. And so we have a sort of metadata schema that we're working on to help us represent visually the payments that are made in a hierarchy. So now what I've shown you so far is like the Wayne Industries of SpankChain. What I'd like to show you now is the Batcave. It's the R&D division. So Nathan, if you'd like to come up. Thanks, man. Yep.
Thank you, Ameen. As you might know, we like state channels here at SpankChain. And so the idea behind the work that I've been doing is that we may want different types of channels in the future. And we kind of want to be prepared for this. We don't want to build out implementations that can't scale in the future or have hard upgrade paths in the future. So we're thinking about things now. How may we build systems now that will be better for scalability in the future or may fit into state channels and how that would run. Oh, going the wrong way. OK, so I'm going to assume that we all know what state channels are. I'm not going to get into too much of detail of what a state channel is. Ultimately, it's a function that takes some state in an action, and then you get some new state out of that. And specifically here, you'll see it's like a single direction payment channel where you are adding money only as the action, and you get a new balance out on the other side. So we have this idea to generalize what a state channel does. And we call these things interpreters. So in general, you need to have a system on-chain that can take state and turn it into meaningful representations, right? Usually this meaningful representation is a balance of some sort in the crypto world. And these interpreters need to enforce some rules on these state transitions to make sure that nothing is going awry. In the balance case, it's going to be something like, make sure that the bonds that were put into a channel can't be overstepped by any state transitions that are happening off-chain. So this is how that might look in a visual sense. We have two parties interacting on-chain. You could consider each one of these interpreters to be a different type of system. So one of them might be your Spank wallets. Another one might be a bidirectional payment channel that you have opened up with your friends so you can send money back and forth. Or generally anything you could fit into a state channel. You're going to be throwing them on-chain, and they all take a different implementation on-chain. So as you can see there, we're putting each implementation into its own on-chain deployment. And all the funds are going to sit on these different deployments. And so this is an expensive way to do state channels if we have to deploy the logic for each individual channel each time. And there's no way to connect balances between these channels. So we've come up with this idea of a channel manager, something that can point to multiple state channels and keep a record of a total balance of sub-balances that may exist on other channels. And you can kind of see how that would work here. You have a channel manager that's basically just connecting multiple state channels. This is still expensive, of course, as you saw. That was all on chain, so we would like to do better than that. So thanks to the work from L4, Counterfactual, they have come up with this idea of counterfactual addressing. This is an idea that may take some explaining. I might not be able to get this point completely across, but the main question is, do we need to deploy each one of these interpreters on-chain? Does each state channel representation or system actually have to go on-chain? And can we find a way to seamlessly move balances between these systems off-chain, not on-chain at all? In order to do this, we think that you really only need one thing on-chain, some sort of multi-signature agreement between the parties, what we are calling a bond manager of sorts. So here you can see the trade-off that has happened. We've moved our state channels to the off-chain section, and the only thing left on the on-chain section is some bond manager. Currently in the implementation that we have written, this multi-sig wallet, it has to take the signatures of the parties involved, the state of the initial balances, and the actual deposits themselves. So how does the bond manager know how to settle state from off-chain contracts, right? That seems a little hand-wavy. So L4 has come up with this idea of a counterfactual registry. So the main problem that we are trying to address with this counterfactual registry is that we need a reference to a contract that has not been deployed yet. With current Ethereum implementations, addresses of contracts cannot be known beforehand. So we need to create a registry that can take a mapping of some predetermined things and allow them to be determined later. So this is done by deterministically computing the parties involved in the channel, as well as the bytecode of the contract that they, or interpreter that they would like to use on-chain in the event that disputes happen off-chain. And this creates a counterfactual address when you do combine these deterministic pieces. And this potentially becomes the ID in the registry for how to look up what would be deployed in the future. To see how this works exactly in our system, you can see here where the first step would be to actually get the bytecode of the interpreter that you would like to use in your channel. So the first interpreter that you would be instantiating is the channel manager itself that you see there. It is a type of interpreter itself. So you get the bytecode, you sign this bytecode, a special message, you send that over to your counterparty. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to take a Solidity compiler and compile the same channel manager and sign it, make sure everything is valid from their other counterparty. And once you've done this, you could say that this channel manager has been counterfactually instantiated. Keep a close eye on the connecting pieces here. The registry does exist on-chain, but you'll notice that there is no connecting line to it. There is no interaction with the registry unless there's a dispute. You never actually have to map that counterfactual address to the deployed address, of course, because if you're not deploying, you would never have that address anyway. So now we have this idea, since we have this channel manager now off-chain, that we can kind of load other interpreters or other channels into this channel manager. And it's going to work like this in our implementation currently. You see kind of how the channel manager sits on top of multiple channel implementations. So you would first get some new bytecode of the interpreter or channel that you would like to open up. You're going to do the same kind of deal that you had just done with the channel manager. You're going to send it over to your counterparty. They're going to verify it. Now you've counterfactually instantiated a new type of channel with them. And you can now, similar pattern, you can now start interacting on this channel. So the counterfactual address is generated for each interpreter. The state transition is defined to kind of carve out a new subset of state in my current system where you are creating a state update on the channel manager that says, hey, I'm loading in a new channel. And you're agreeing that this is going to be some new state that kind of gets appended to a global state. So I'm calling it a subset. users can now interact on this channel, right? And it's going to look like this, where you have this counterfactual contract. Client side, you're going to have the same logic. So you're going to be creating these state transitions and signing them. You see like an update nonce there on the channel manager. That's kind of like creating a new state transition, sending it over to your counterparty to sign. They are going to say, OK, I agree with this. Now I would like to make a state transition. And do the same thing. You can bounce back and forth. This is normal state channels technology here that you may be used to. Now let's talk about what happens if we want to get out of these channels, right? So there's the happy cases and the dispute cases. The happy case will look like this, where you have this agreement to close the channel. So one of the parties, and this is not necessarily the channel manager. This could be any channel that is attached to the channel manager, and some party just wants to close that channel. They will put a flag on the state that says, I want to close this. They'll send that over to their counterparty. The counterparty will check it and go, yes, I agree. I would like to close this channel. So they both sign that. Now, instead of counterfactually instantiating anything or deploying anything that was counterfactually instantiated, you can go directly to the bond manager or the multisig with your final balance and close everything out. That would be closing everything. Closing one channel, you would just remain off-chain and just update your channel manager state off-chain. So in the happy case, you can close channels off-chain and then close everything on the bond manager. Now we have to worry about challenges, a client not responding, or malicious activity, or failures in the client. So we want to now actually get these counterfactual contracts on chain. Shit just got real. So let's say that I want to close a single direction payment channel. We have 3 payment channels open, and I want to close one of them. So you'll see here a process where the first party has created some state update. They say, hey, I want to close this channel even. They send it over to their counterparty. The counterparty runs some verification on it, and they go, wait, this state update maybe takes more money out of our bond than we originally agreed to, or there's something that I don't agree to this. So they would like to now start a settlement period where they can settle on a previous state that they thought was good. In order to do that, they're going to need to talk to the registry. So they're going to send the bytes that they agreed on to be counterfactually instantiated to the registry. This is the point where you will see the mapping that existed. The CTF address, which was pre-loaded into the bond manager, will now point to the registry, which has a deployed address after the registry deploys it. You can settle that one channel by talking to the now deployed channel manager that is on chain, and figure out what the channel manager balance should be. And if you want to close everything, you can talk to the bond manager to do so. And this would require everything being closed. All other channels that the channel manager is tracking would also have to be closed in order to do that. So you can have multiple channels. And that's, I think, kind of the cool takeaway from this. You get this ability to stack them underneath of this channel manager and kind of jump between them, deciding which state you're updating at which time, and none of it has to go on chain. Just do this over and over again. And kind of the main takeaway here is that it takes some thought to make your system aware of this. As I mentioned, I think as a dApp developer, we should think ahead for scalability, not pigeonhole ourselves into an implementation that doesn't have a good upgrade path. So if you want to use a system like this, you may want to start thinking about state more. How does your dApp handle state transitions? Are there any intermediary states that you can get rid of? Things that don't need to necessarily go on chain all the time. Not every system is going to be channelizable, but we are exploring what can be. And I think if you think ahead, then we can get to some serious scaling. And that's it.
Hi. So in the example, you only have 2 parties. How have you thought about having a state channel with more than 2 parties on it?
I have, yes. It's been a complicated thought that I've had in my head, right? So I believe it's possible. I've had some conversations with L4. I believe they've figured out how to do this. Not saying that for sure, but my challenge to that would be, so imagine you have 10 people that open up a bond manager or a multi-sig together, and you have 2 people that want to open up a payment channel inside of that. So now those 2 people will be signing state transitions together, but do you need all 10 people to agree to their state transitions, right? What have we done to consensus whenever we've broken the parties up? And is there a way to make sure that there's a rule just baked into the contracts that these two parties that are agreeing to their own state transitions can't steal more money from the multi-sig wallet than they have agreed to bond into their off-chain payment channel? That's something I think can be settled. I haven't quite figured it out yet.
Thanks for the talk. I have a Booty question. Booty was pegged to the dollar, yeah?
Yes.
How do you handle the currency peg?
So we we accept Booty for $1 in platform fees, and if Booty drops significantly, then we'll have to buy it back with our reserves.
So do you hold an equivalent amount of US dollars to the Booty supply at all times?
So like this is sort of how countries protect themselves against like speculative attacks and stuff, right? We have to have reserves and even possibly have hidden reserves. So equivalent amount of dollars, probably not.
Thank you for your lecture. Oh, thank you. So I wanted to ask a question about one case. Imagine there are a lot of makers of the content, right, on the net. So the two of them have their own profiles, keys, and wallets to receive money. What if two of them want to combine efforts for a period of time? And how do this process come? Do you make a new payment channel or something?
Yeah, so these are the types of things that can actually be baked into payment channels itself. So let me repeat the question. The question was, what if there's two performers that are on a show together? How do you distribute the payments both, right? And the way it'll work is like, you'll actually need to construct the payment channel in such a way that it can pay out to multi-parties, right? And so this is why the stuff that Nathan and L4 is doing is so important, because it'll allow us to upgrade our smart contracts that actually manage the channels off-chain. So like right now we have unidirectional Ether-only channels, right? If we wanted to have bidirectional channels or channels that can pay out to multi-parties and allow users to upgrade to those, it would cost us like 2 on-chain transactions, which would be a lot of gas because you have to move out of the old contract and into the new one. And so that's why we're doing this research, because it'll allow us to iterate faster and build these systems quicker. Thanks, guys.